All right. Leon Draisaitl, 8 years, $8.5 million. I'm not sure why it took this long. To be honest, I'm not sure why it took this long. That can't have been far off of what he wanted in the first place. The term had to have been something the Oilers knew he was going to want, demand, and get. But it's done. So here's the thing. Now the combined cost of McDavid and Draisaitl is $19 million a year starting next season. So there's a few ways you can look at this. The Oilers are set for a very, very long time. They've locked up their two best centers to hopefully, if you're an Oilers fan, repeat the success Pittsburgh and Chicago have had with two really high-grade forwards and building teams around them. Chicago's done it with Kane and Taves. Pittsburgh's done it with Malkin and Crosby. And every now and then I make the mistake of thinking that Patrick Kane's a center. I'm not making that mistake today. But they don't play on the same line for the most part. If they are on the same line, it means the team's losing and they're desperate for a goal, so they throw them together. But for the most part, they don't play together. Now, Chicago, since they signed Kane and Taves to the big contracts, they have not won a Stanley Cup. It's difficult. When you're investing around $20 million in two players, it is difficult to take the other 40, 50, depending on where the cap is. Those millions, you then have to split between about 20 different players. So you can average about $2.5 million per player. So somewhere in the roster, you're going to have either 3 or 4 guys on entry-level contracts or 3 or 4 guys on cheap contracts. And in the case of the Oilers, they got a lot of entry-level. So you've got a lot of entry-level contracts, and honestly, and again, I know this upsets people when I say it, but when I see two guys making roughly $20 million between them, I do wonder how long are they going to be able to cobble together a team that can contend. Because then it's a question of, okay, now when other players are up for renewals, how much do they get? Like everybody right now this summer has been laughing at the Capitals. Well, this is how the Capitals got there. It's by giving a lot of guys a lot of money because they deserved it and not necessarily looking ahead. So Capageddon hit this summer and wiped out the Capitals. And now they've got, last time I checked Cap Friendly, it says they got 17 players under contract that are roster players, and they don't have much cap space left. So it's going to be a challenge. Now for the Oilers, this year, McDavid is still on his entry level. If you're going to get a rental, if you're going to decide we're going for the Stanley Cup, this is the year for Edmonton. The Draisaitl contract, McDavid's kicks in next year. This is the year. Because you can take in a couple of more guys on expiring contracts and really make that push. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Oilers do it. Look, there are going to be people who say, "Oh well, it's too soon." But the Oilers were right there with the Ducks all year. They were right there in terms of being one of the top teams in the West. They're only going to get better. So the idea of adding a couple of veterans, a couple guys on expiring contracts, might be able to push them over the top at the deadline, really shouldn't seem that out of character. I honestly think part of it is we've been so used to the Oilers being so bad for so long, it is hard to grasp them being good. It is hard to grasp the idea that this team's turned it around. And I honestly believe a lot of the criticism that gets thrown at McDavid and gets thrown at the Oilers, if this team was playing in Carolina, this roster was in Florida, this roster was in Dallas, we'd hear fans all over North America talking about, oh, this team is set, they're going to win Stanley Cups, they're going to have... I honestly think that among Canadian fans, you're going to find a lot of bickering and infighting. It happens in the States too. Just put a St. Louis and Chicago fan in a room together and you're going to get some bickering and some nastiness, probably. But there always seems to be this backlash against Canadian teams. So, the Leafs get Marner, Nylander, Matthews, a lot of really good young forwards. And again, if this was the Islanders, this was New Jersey, we'd be hearing all over North America about how great it is. But there's a lot of people still say, it's the laughs. They're going to screw it up. They haven't won anything since 67. They suck. They just suck. I don't subscribe to that. Whether I like a team or dislike a team, I'm still going to grade them exactly the same as I would if it was the other way around. Because I don't see the need to, start smack-talking somebody else. This Oilers team is good. That Leafs team in the East is pretty good, too. They're both in similar situations. And for the Oilers, this is showing Toronto fans what's coming. If Draisaitl's worth 8.5, Matthews is going to get that much. Marner is going to command in around that much. And Nylander, if he keeps developing the way that he has so far, he's not going to be far behind. So the Oilers right now are in a good spot. Starting next year, they're going to have to get creative with the cap. And I got to say, I'm a big Chiarelli fan, but when I look at what happened in Boston and how Boychuk was getting moved out for cap space, which just boggled the mind when Seidenberg was sitting there. Couldn't believe that. I'm like, yeah, they got to make room for something. Yeah, you got to make some cap space. I guess Seidenberg's got to go. Oh, you traded Boychuk for draft picks. Awesome. My favorite defenseman, other than Krug, is gone for draft picks. And Seidenberg's still there. Awesome. So, as long as Chiarelli doesn't make cap space trading away some really good players, the Oilers are going to be okay. It'll be interesting to see how the cap is dealt with after this season. But for right now, this is a good deal. Draisaitl's coming to camp. It's not a distraction. And now it gives the marketplace a number that can be placed on other players still waiting to be signed. So let me know what you guys think about the term and the numbers. It's right in line with what I think all of us expected. There was a lot of between 8 and 9, so 8.5 makes the most sense. Works for me. That's the marketplace, and that's where he ends up. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. It's a good day to be an Oilers fan right now, and congratulations to you guys. And I honestly hope that since the Canucks are in a rebuild and other Canadian teams are maybe lingering about the picture but not necessarily in the contendership spot, I wouldn't mind seeing the Oilers win a Stanley Cup next spring. I never thought I'd see the day I said that. My opinion could change by next spring, but for right now, it would be nice to see. So maybe this signing of Draisaitl, the team committing long-term to these guys, maybe that'll bring the team together and allow them to get further in the playoffs than this past season. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.